We've had lots of growth and a lot of positive changes, but there's also been some challenges as well since the recovery over the last 10 years. New Orleans has historically been a place that our culture has been such a large part of who we are. And with the influx of New Orleanians, I'm not quite sure that our culture is maintaining its authenticity. I think that there's maybe some sort of lack of understanding and knowledge about it. So, like, we've had some noise ordinances and we've had some neighborhood associations forming as a result of just really not understanding how we celebrate the dead, how we make everything a festival, and sometimes it's a little bit inconvenient. And people that are not from here, they don't really get that. They don't really understand our culture. They love it. They want to come and visit, but when they have to live with it every day, it sort of changes the landscape. And I think that's a bit challenging that we are able to preserve our culture here in New Orleans. I think there's been some challenges around education. I think the dissolution of the Orleans Parish School Board down to just a very minimal amount of schools, and the overtaking of the Recovery School District over the last 10 years. We've seen the Recovery School District then charterize these schools, and the charterizations of schools has really sort of become a business here in New Orleans. And I think that the children are suffering, but I think some people realize that that is not a good thing and they're working to make it better. But overall, the children are suffering. This is not a good, that system hasn't been optimized as of yet. Also, there have been lots of economic changes here in our city over the last 10 years post Katrina, but I'm not sure that the pay has caught up to that. I think that there's some legislation on the table to increase the minimum wage up to $15 an hour, but that won't happen until maybe 2020. But meanwhile, in 2015, the housing prices are increasing. The cost of living is increasing here in New Orleans. And so there's sort of a disconnect between what the housing and the cost of living is raising versus the amount of money that people are actually generating here in the city. There's a gap, there's a disconnect there. So I think that's quite a challenge that's happening here in our city, especially for people that have been here. I think there are new Orleanians that are coming in with expectations about finances, or they're used to paying these prices wherever they've come from. But for people that have been here like me for 4 generations, that hasn't been our experience. So the challenge to keep up and to continue on with the standard of living and the cost of living can be a little challenging economically. So over the last 10 years, there have been quite a few positive outcomes. Physically, our city looks a lot cleaner. It looks a lot brighter. Our houses are remodeled. They look new. The city sort of has a facelift. Our recoveries he had designated 17 areas that lots of federal funding was put in to revitalize. We have new sidewalks. We have bike lanes in the city, throughout the city now. We have better lighting. We have bike racks. We have benches. So the city physically looks different, and I think that's a very positive outcome. I think the influx of New Orleanians, people coming here to make a positive change, whether it's education, whether it's just whatever they're contributing to the newness of the city. The entrepreneurship has skyrocketed in the city. I think that's a very positive outcome. But there are lots of positive outcomes that have happened as a result over the last 10 years, and you can physically see it. You can see mom and pop stores opening up, different areas of the city that maybe had not been so used or seen in the city. You're seeing more of that now, particularly here on Bayou Road. Bayou Road has become a destination that it was not before. People come here during the Jazz Fest. We have a lot of tourists, and they come back throughout the year. They eat at the restaurant. They buy books at the bookstore. But there's been some positive outcomes. Yeah.